Welcome to Being a Successful Leader with Carl Welty. Carl is a leadership pioneer with years of challenging leadership and consulting experience. Here's Carl with some valuable insights, practical and proven methods for being a successful leader.
Greetings, Carl Welty here, your host for the podcast series, Being a Successful Leader. The intent of this series, 26 episodes, weekly apart, is to provide you with valuable insights and practical and proven know-how on how to become a successful leader, or to improve, probably already successful, but make yourself even better. The net upshot, the result, to enable you to gain greater clarity, competence, and competence to move things forward and be proud of the job you're doing, as you should be. I have three, I call them imperatives for successful leadership. And the episodes revolve around each of these three imperatives. The first is being a skillful, self-aware leader. The second imperative is formulating and executing a sound strategy. And the third imperative is building a culture of commitment. So one is skillful self-aware leader, two is sound strategy, three is a culture of commitment. We're in the third imperative right now, culture of commitment. And thus far, in this particular area of focus, we made the business case in a previous episode for building a culture of commitment. A lot of sound reasons for doing so, good business reasons. And then we also reviewed relations between work and human nature to provide you with some underpinnings, a solid foundation of why it's important to understand. You just can appreciate and understand the processes and practices we'll be covering in the future episodes on this building a culture of commitment, if you understand the motivational reasons for doing so. So we covered that. And today our focus is just how to go about building a culture of commitment. It's really a kind of a segue here today in this episode, a transition, if you will, as we go from the macro level of looking at the organization as a whole, be that organization as a whole, your department, your particular organizational entity, division, region, area, what have you, and having a sound strategy for that. And then now we go to the micro level, which is more about the day-to-day kind of activities as you bring people aboard and develop them and communicate and nurture and make things happen. So there's two levels here in building the culture of commitment, the macro level and the micro level. Let's compare and contrast those a little bit further. The focus in the macro level, as we discussed, is the organization as a whole, or your organizational entity as a whole. And at the micro level, we're talking about your specific entity, and particularly the individuals in your team and the teams. So you need to attend to both the macro picture, the broad picture, and the micro, the specific picture. Now, the intent at the macro level, the intent is to formulate and execute a sound strategy. My second leadership imperative. The intent at the micro level is to build a culture of commitment. And you need this culture of commitment, don't you? This is the third leadership imperative, because you can have a great sound strategy, but if nobody's following it and getting someone jacked about it, well, there you go. And so that's the need, and that's the focus of the micro level. The benefit at the macro level is you're providing a sound organizational context, an overall direction and guidance for the people. You're getting all the arrows headed in the same way, and that's vitally important. At the local level, the micro level, what you're doing there is aligning and inspiring people to struggle, and struggle is the right word, not only to strive, but to struggle and be happy about that, be excited about that, to achieve shared aspirations, the aspirations of the embedded in the sound strategy, as well as the aspirations that you've worked out with them in terms of their particular role. And the process that will follow as I mentioned, in the macro level, we followed my strategic framework process as outlined in the book about formulating and executing a sound strategy. And there we looked at, walked you through how to set the identity, define the identity, set a direction, and then execute it. the three dimensions: identity, direction, execution. And at the micro level, the process here is to implement good human resource practices. And I have 4 building blocks that address that. And we'll get into that in just a second and preview them. And what we're looking for here is practical, proven human resource practices and processes for you to apply to provide that local level sound culture. Now, your role at the macro level, of course, is a leader. This is your penultimate role here about sound strategy. And at the local level, your department, division, so forth, be it executive level or mid-level or frontline management level, is both a leader and a manager. Of course, you're the leader, but the manager, remember one of our earlier episodes, I differentiated. Leadership is all about the future, and managership is all about the now, the here and the now. So the culture part is more about the here and the now, and the leader is more that sound strategy built for your group. Let's talk a little bit more about at the micro level, again, within the context of your overall organizational sound strategy, your organization as a whole, or your individual entity. And remember, effective management, it's all about developing shared aspirations for the individuals and the team as a whole, be it your normal work group team or a project team. And we talked about in the motivational episode, which was last time. And if you haven't picked that up, be sure to go to my website, welty.com, and you can go over to Leadership Resources, click on the icon below that directs you to this particular podcast. And there's one there on understanding motivation. And you can pick up, of course, on any others or review them if you've already been through them. We talk about the parts of commitment over compliance, people being committed, wanting to, versus complying, having to, and motivation over movement. They want to because their aspirations are there, their achievement and so forth, versus being pushed to achieve. Okay, let's briefly go through the 4 building blocks. That'll be the content for our future episodes here under this particular imperative. They are selection, clarity, performance coaching, and growing teams. Selection, clarity, performance coaching, and growing teams. A little bit about the selection episode. Selection is all about selecting the right people. So vital, so important. I think of it as the most critical management activity. Your leadership activity, I would say, it's building a sound strategy. That's the name of the game. And there's a lot of important management activities. And one of the most important ones is selecting the right people. To get the goal is to get a fit, to assure a good fit in terms of the position and the cultural fit too, so that you want to make sure that you have the opportunity and the candidates' aspirations and capabilities all lined up there. And so we're going to spend the bulk of the time next time reviewing a selection decision process I have for you, how to go about preparing for and conducting an effective selection interview so you're in a position to make a sound decision. You'll find it very, very worthwhile. Many of us struggle in how to go about, doing a solid interview. And when the client leaves or the candidate leaves, many times we don't know more about them than when they entered the door. That won't be anymore if you follow this process we're going to outline next time for you. So be sure to tune in for that. It's unique and it's powerful. So the second of the 4 building blocks is clarity. This is all about the role, responsibilities, and authorities. The focus there is going to be, again, a unique and powerful process is what I call position plan. And the position plan is all about getting shared expectations between you and that associate or group of associates in terms of the results and not the activities. Many of the little instruments we have and so forth and so on, like a job definition is like in labor management context, it draws boundaries around the job. Or a job description is one that most times just lists the activities performed by a box on an organization chart. And many times the most important one is perform other duties as assigned. Well, you don't want activities. You're a leader manager, and what you want to talk about is results and get shared expectations around results. We're going to show you how to do that next time, or the time after that, two episodes from now. Again, a unique and powerful process. The third of the 4 building blocks I have for constructing and maintaining a solid culture, healthy culture, work culture, is performance coaching. And here in performance coaching, you're nurturing and encouraging success. We'll talk about just what is coaching and what it's not, how to go about it. And one of the important things that we'll dwell on this is what I call pacing with the individual, your individual associate. As they mature in terms of competence and motivation in the position, you need to alter your approach and be conscious of that in terms of how much direction and guidance to provide. You're always there with them. You never neglect them. And you don't want to be like the manager, call me if you need me kind of thing. You're always there nurturing and so forth, even if they're very, very competent. But it's important to pace with them and have conversations about that with each of your associates. We'll talk about that in 2 times from now, actually 3 times from now. And I'm going to devote a special episode to a piece that falls under performance coaching, which I call analyzing and resolving performance discrepancies. Analyzing and resolving performance discrepancies. These aren't bad things. You're always going to have some performance discrepancy, especially new people. They just don't have the knowledge and the wherefore yet of performing the way you'd like them to see them perform someday. So they're not bad things. But sometimes things keep happening and you're not quite sure how to go about that. So we're going to walk you through a process that you can use again on an ongoing basis to identify the nature and cause of any performance discrepancies and then map out a strategy to resolve it. Very solid stuff. And the last of the 4 is growing teams. Here where you put it all together and the things you applied with the individuals, you now pull together in terms of your group and turn the group into a team, and the difference in the group and the team. And we'll talk about that, your natural work groups and your time limited teams, your projects and things of that nature. And especially critical for virtual teams is the sound strategy we covered already, because they're not there with you. And so it's more important than ever that there's some clarity around what we're all about, where we're going, and that sort of thing. And that was covered in the sound strategy. We'll also talk briefly about team tools. We won't have time to go through all the detail. But in my book, Building Commitment, which is the book you want to get for this particular series, again, you can find that under my website, welty.com, and you get a lot more detailed examples, graphs, charts, and ongoing reference. And team tools, there's a whole section on that. So be sure and grab a copy if you haven't already. All right, so that's a quick preview of what we're up to in the next several episodes. You'll find it, you're going to get some very valuable insights and practical proven know-how about how to go about these different processes and practices to build this culture of commitment that's so needed. And again, it's unique, a lot of unique stuff I don't think you'll find elsewhere. Okay, so next time we'll delve into the first of the 4 building blocks, selection, and really hone in on the selection interview to allow you to be confident and competent in preparing for and making the selection interview, conducting selection interview. So until that time, you take care of yourself, and we'll see you.